Hello and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time we went to the place. We went to the date. We had our first date. And now we say Gah! I snap upwards out of my sheets and sit bolt upright in bed as if an electric shock had just run through my entire body. The night air feels cold against the sweat on my bare skin, my breathing short and rugged, nearly to the point of hyperventilating. Mind racing, I bring my hand to my head in an attempt to soothe my body's panicked state. It takes me a number of seconds to realize my hand is shaking violently, even as I press it against my face. More seconds pass in complete silence, my desperate attempts to subdue my body and mind slowly, thankfully working. Gathering myself, I start taking measure of the state I'm in. It feels like I've run a marathon, every muscle feeling tensed and sweat practically pouring out of me. I carefully direct my attention to the beating in my chest, measuring out the rhythm in my head. Sure enough, my unreliable heart is functioning properly for once. Just what the hell was that? A heart attack? A bad nightmare? Medicine side effects? I've heard about panic attacks, and this does seem to have the hallmarks of one. I can't even be bothered thinking about it right now. I feel utterly exhausted, yet completely awake after this experience. I look over to the other side of the bed, the pale white of the silent figure's face almost glowing in the nighttime darkness of the room. Just the sight of her is enough to calm me down significantly. Oh, y'all sleeping together? That's cute. Her graceful demeanor persists even while she's asleep, her perfectly measured breathing and gentle face making it impossible to tell whether she's awake or truly sleeping. Given in to temptation, I delicately rub my fingertips over her head. Her skin is soft to the touch. Over her hand. Oh, I was like, you just palmed her whole head? I delicately run my fingertips over her hand. Her skin is soft to the touch, as it always has been, yet warm even in the cold night. It's at times like this, silently appreciating each other's presence, that I feel we're closest. My fingers stop at her wrists, and I bring my hand back down to the bed beside me. I'm not entirely sure why, but as we become even closer to each other, I felt as if something grew between us. I'm not entirely sure what it is, nor whether it existed before we'd fallen in love. Everything is moving so fast, I don't mind it at all, but it feels unlike Lily to be pushing things this much. Thankfully, there aren't any students milling around in the hallway at this hour of the morning, lest I be interrogated on why I'm carrying 2 plates of breakfast to my room while dressed in an obviously hastily donned uniform. That isn't to say things like this never happen, of course. A single security guard patrolling between 2 sets of bedrooms situated right next to each other is a very small force compared to adolescent hormones. Oof. Come to think of it, the fact that it's Monday morning probably helps. I'm not really sure why, but Mondays seem to bother me less than they do most others. It takes a little creative use of my hands and elbow to eventually manage to work the door to my dormitory room open. Stepping inside, I see Lily just getting up from the bed and tiredly rubbing her eyes. She looks a mess, just like most other times I've seen her soon after she wakes. She really isn't a morning person. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. She groggily shakes her head. The morning light illuminating her makes for a very pleasant sight. It's okay. I needed to get up anyway. What time is it? I put my plate down on the desk and turned the clock around to check the time. Still early. Don't worry, there's plenty of time before school. She sits on the side of the bed and begins to sniff the air. I said, what time is it? All you told me was that it's early. What time is it, Hisao? As she does, I quickly move her plate away and put it on the desk beside mine. Yes, I got us some breakfast. Shower and clothes come first, though. Hello? All he did was give you some breakfast. You ain't got a full make out with him for that. Make him work for it. She stands still for a moment with her chin pointed slightly out. I gladly acquiesce and press my lips to hers, savoring the soft feeling before breaking off. How is she gonna take a shower? Don't you share a shower with Kenji and he's psychotic? He won't let that. He's not gonna let you have a female in your room. He's gonna lose his shit. With a small, sweet smile, apparently quite satisfied, she slowly makes her way to the showers. I stretch to try and wake myself up a little more, briefly looking at the steaming dish on the desk. Rice, fish, miso soup, and some vegetables, a standard breakfast for a somewhat unusual day. I grab the bottles from my desk and start taking my daily regimen of pills. Sometimes I wonder what these things are even good for, given all the troubles I've had since the initial accident. I can't even say that it doesn't hurt to take them, considering the side effects so far. Well, whatever. Doctor's orders are that I have to take them, and rationality suggests that I'll be well served to trust his judgment over mine. Didn't you have a full-on, heart flutter from walking in the heat because you forgot to take them for 2 days? I think that it's important that you take them, Mr. Sao, Mr. Nakai. It doesn't take long for the noise of the shower to cease, a quick one apparently, being fine for Lily given the circumstances. Emerging from the bathroom, she looks significantly more awake, having had the chance to collect herself. Without a word, I gently take her hand in mine and guide her to my desk. Considering I don't have a table in my room as she does, it'll have to do. Thank you, Hisao. What did you prepare for breakfast? Just rice and some vegetables, something fast. Her face lights up at the revelation. That's quite a breakfast. This is normal for you? Now she's just being nice. I have little doubt, considering her past, that this isn't exactly a high-class meal by her standards. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, serving it up Lily's way. Just because we're students doesn't mean we can take it lightly. That's my belief anyway. From what others I've talked to have said, I might be in the minority. I take a seat on the side of my bed and begin eating together with Lily, her chopsticks lightly tapping out the outlines of the vegetables just as I'd noticed her doing during our date. This is quite nice, Isao. I had no idea you could cook this well. This time she's much more genuine, I can tell that much. That said, cooking really isn't anything special at all. After a bit of practice, it's pretty easy to make a simple dish. Most of the credit goes to modern technology. Still, after years of cooking for myself, I should hope so. I got bored of eating instant noodles and ordering pizza every time my parents were both working, so I taught myself how to make a few meals. I'm still trying to get the knack of it, though. You'll make a good wife someday, Hisao. I take a grain of rice and place it onto my thumb before carefully taking aim and giving it a good flick. Wow, you just hit her with a rice. First thing in the morning, you're being assaulted. Domestic abuse. Lily jumps a little as it hits her cheek right on target. I can't help chuckling a little at her expense as she lowers her brow and tries her best to assume a harsh and serious expression. Oh, that's right. What is it? Did you have any problems sleeping last night? You seemed restless. So she was awake back then, or at least partly so. Whether it was my heart or a nightmare caused by the side effects of my medicine, the last thing I want is for her to be worrying about me even more. Even before my relationship with Lily, I'd felt my body was a drag on everything I did. My body is my burden alone, so as long as I'm with her, I'll continue to act as normally as possible. No, not particularly. Is that so? That's good, then. Luckily, she seems to take me at my word. Come to think of it, there was something else I wanted to ask. Oh? How should I put it? When you dream, do you see people and objects? Yes, of course Oh. I feel more than a little sheepish for that slip of the tongue, however earnest it may be. Lily looks unperturbed, though. But you don't taste, feel, nor smell things? I move to answer, but find myself stuck before thinking about it. The more I mull it over, the more I realize that her hypothesis is correct. That's true, I guess. I never looked at it that way. Are you saying that you do? For the most part, I only hear in dreams. But yes, sometimes I touch and smell things as well. I'm just asking, since Akira thought it was very strange that I did when I brought it up with her. If you don't either, then maybe it's due to my blindness. That would make sense. You rely on your other senses more than me, so maybe that affects your dreams as well. I do sometimes smell things in my dreams, and I definitely feel them. I don't know if that's normal. Sometimes my dreams feel very, very real. It's concerning. The wonders of the human body, I guess. For the rest of the time before school, we quietly eat the hearty breakfast in front of us, exchanging a few small pieces of small talk as we do. A quick peek out of the door assures nobody's looking directly at the entrance for the boys' dormitories, so we walk out with a clear path. The weather's good today. I stretch as Lily and I make our way outside, the bright morning sun beaming down on us. By now, a few students can be seen doing the same, making their way to the main school building, either from the dorms or through the main gates. It does feel nice and warm. Our hands linked and her cane tapping the ground, we begin in earnest our trip to the school building and join the chattering throngs of students around us. This would be the last day of exams, no? Yeah, how are you doing? How are you going in them? Fairly well, all things considered. You seem a bit stressed by them, though. It's that obvious, huh? I don't think it's just the exams, though. A lot of stuff's been happening in a short amount of time, and I'm not doing that well on the humanities subjects. You're doing well in science, though, aren't you? Well, it would be hard not to do well in science for me. Come to think of it, didn't you say that you weren't very good at science and maths? She suddenly looks very sheepish, my remark no doubt hitting home. Lily's sense of pride really can be a double-edged sword. Well, aside from that, have you ever given thought to what you might do with that ability? It seems a pity to waste it. A bit, mostly at Muto's prompting. In any case, I'll probably end up doing science as a career in some form. That's good to hear, Hisao. As we enter the gardens, I suddenly receive an unsolicited pat on the back. A green-dressed culprit dances around to meet me, evidently not paying any heed to Lily at my side. Hey man, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while. Hey, just been busy lately with the exams and stuff. Exams, schmams. A true Renaissance man needs no study to excel in such things. Kenji does strike me as the kind of person that does well in school, even if he has a horrid attendance record and poor work ethic, so I've little reason to doubt his ability. To be honest, I'm a little envious of him. Between studying for exams and my time with Lily, I've had practically no time to myself. Maybe that is a bit like how Yuko feels. Good morning, Seto. It's good to hear you're doing well. It feels slightly odd to see Lily speaking so formally. She's come to address me more casually over the months, though I have seen her speak more formally to classmates from time to time as well. Some people never change, I guess. Not that I'd say her calm and polite manner is a bad thing. It was one of the reasons I liked being around her to begin with, after all. Kenji seems to take a moment to work out who it is beside me, and probably hasn't noticed us holding hands either. I wonder if those glasses of his actually do anything. Oh, hey Lily. Good luck on your exams, too. I'll see you after school then, man. The slight edge to his voice makes me think those words are meant to be an imperative rather than a casual farewell. I guess I'll have to smooth things over later. Sure, see ya. Oh, he mad? He knows that she was using the bathroom. He smelled the woman in the shower. Kenji nods curtly. He moves to pass by us, but he's too busy glaring in Lily's general direction to take notice of her cane. Before I can try to react to save the situation, Kenji trips and reflexively reaches out for a handhold. Unfortunately, said handhold turns out to be Lily's arm. Oh damn, he just dragged her to the ground. Whoa. Ah! Both fall to the ground in a sprawling heap, with me left feeling rather helpless. Oh, damn, are you two okay? Kenji quickly rises back up, seemingly unfazed by the accident. No problem, man, no problem. This is nothing. My body can take much worse abuse. Weird flex. Lily lies face down on the grass. She doesn't look hurt by the incident, more startled than anything. I move closer to offer her my help. Are you alright, Lily? Hey, Sato. Kenji offers her a hand, tentatively touching hers to let her know what he's doing. He says odious things sometimes, but I do think he may be a genuinely good person at heart. I don't know about that. I think maybe the opposite. He is a good person on the surface, and at heart he is evil. I imagine he feels pretty bad about this. To his surprise and mine, though, Lily pounds on the ground with her fist without warning. Damn it! Kenji freezes, entirely caught by surprise at her outburst. I'm just as shocked. She never acted like this before. Not even around Shizune. Seemingly only now remembering that there are people around her, Lily slowly climbs to her feet. Her face, as she does so, makes me retreat a little. I only catch a glimpse of her expression before she turns away, but it's not something I'll forget soon. Yeah, she lost it. Oh, and that facade is starting to fade away, Lily. Your perfect and prim and proper facade. I know you're a crazy bitch. She showed plenty of annoyance during her clashes with Shizune, but this flash of anger was something else. There's no way that this is just about this petty incident. She pauses for a moment before sighing and walking on ahead. I really don't know what to make of this. I'll, talk to you later, dude. See ya. Yeah, see ya. Kenji scratches the back of his head trying to find something to say, then shrugs and walks away, giving us a wide berth. I quickly catch up to Lily. She turns her head a little to acknowledge my presence, but nothing else. I should probably scold her for lashing out like that. Why would you scold her? Why wouldn't you just ask what's wrong? Why do you have to scold her? But I also don't want to get into a shouting match with her. She's still very obviously annoyed. In the end, I keep my mouth shut and wait for her to cool off. After a quiet walk-in, we eventually reach the top of the third-floor stairs and the junction where we part every day. I turn to Lily before she leaves. While I do like the comfortable and warm silences we usually share, this was anything but. I don't want to leave things like this. You seem quieter than usual recently. Is anything wrong? She shakes her head almost automatically, as if to dispel any notion that I need to worry about her. It's just the exams taking their toll. I'll be fine. I don't think that's the reason. I very nearly say so, but decide against it. There's no point trying to draw it out of her if she doesn't want to tell me, especially when she's in a foul mood like this. If you're sure, I'll see you later then. As I turn down the hall to go to my classroom, Lily's soft voice rings out from behind me. Isao, yeah? I'm sorry. With that, Lily makes off down the hallway to her own classroom, her head skating along the metal railings. Her hand. Why do I keep reading that as head? I stand still and watch her until she turns into her classroom and out of sight, before going to my own class with a fair measure of reluctance. As usual, I'm early. Muto is fiddling with folders and papers on his desk and as he prepares for the day, while a handful of students mill about, chatting away. While my feelings about Lily haven't dissipated, far from it, her mention of my exam performance did remind me that I have my own life's journey to attend to. After thinking about it, I have realized that I do genuinely want to pursue science in some form as a career, rather than it simply being the path of least resistance. Until now, though, I didn't have much of an idea of where in the field I wanted to go, just science is a pretty broad category for jobs. Something Lily mentioned earlier focused my thoughts, something I'd only idly pondered about before. I'd not seriously considered following this specific path. I walked up to Muto's desk, his attention too focused on preparing for the day's lessons to notice my approach. It's the same every day. Good morning. He looks up with an expression of mild surprise that's quickly replaced by his typical awkward smile. Good morning, Nakai. Can I help you? Do you mind if I ask you something? He looks down at his messy pile of books on the desk before putting down the papers in his hands and standing up with some difficulty to properly address me. That's what I'm here for, after all. Ask away. I was just wondering, what would you say is the motivation behind teaching? He thinks on this question for a few moments before responding, evidently far from having a prepared answer. If you talk to 10 different teachers, I think you'll get 10 different answers to that question. While I can only speak for myself, I'd say that I teach because, He sinks into thought again, carefully assessing the way he wishes to present his idea. Think of it this way. When you were a child, you probably played with sticks and pebbles in moving water, such as the gutter puddles, right? Yeah, I think a lot of people do that when they're young. Well, it's not just that when they're young for some, though it does take on another form. My point is, though, that when one is doing that, they're curious about how the water will flow or be changed. Everyone, even at that young age, possesses an intense wonderment of how the world around them works, even in its smallest forms. I still feel that sense of wonderment about the universe, oh God. We're getting deep here. Even just reading about new discoveries or classic experiments gives me a renewed sense of awe at how marvelous everything is, from the farthest stars to the smallest puddle. I just hope that I can give others even a small piece of that wonderment I feel. If I can do that, even if it's just for one person, I think that I can be happy as a teacher. He scratches his head as he mentally reviews what he said. I feel like I understand him better now. Even if he's awkward around others, he does have a genuine want to be around them and offer them a piece of himself that he values. What Lily told me yesterday rings in my ears. I think you get on well with others, huh? She always did say I was unusually curious. Sorry if that was a little meandering. Does it answer your question? It does, thank you. I also had another question, actually. Oh, what might that be? Do you have any college brochures or guides? It's about time I started getting some applications in. He nods and bends down to look inside his desk. As he does so, I notice that he is wearing a remarkably genuine smile. He sure is. I don't think I've ever really seen him act this natural around others. Perhaps this isn't Muto the teacher, but rather Muto the person. Here, if you need any more, feel free to ask. He hands me about half a dozen brochures and booklets of various colors and sizes, which I take eagerly. Yes, it will be this information which I'll use to forge my own future. I think now, after all this time and all these trials, I can finally start to see the big picture of my life ahead of me. My body may be like this, but my mind is still very much able. Thank you. What is it? Oh. This is strange. That single thought has graced my mind a countless number of times since my life here began. It feels like an easy way to discard a troubling question, as if simply labeling something with those 3 words will make it go away, or at least not worth thinking about any further. There's a teacup becoming increasingly less transparent, opaque, or whatever. It's becoming seeable. My life before my heart attack feels more blurry every time I try to remember it, and my mind struggles to keep up with all these events suddenly happening around me since. I heard somewhere that this is what it feels like to be left stranded in a country with only the most basic understanding of the local language. Indeed, when I think about it, that seems a marvelously apt analogy for what's happened to me. But such situations are also supposed to make you very capable in that language very fast, as you're forced to learn it in order to survive. Put another way, the situation becomes sink or swim. I wonder if I've really managed to swim after all this time. The exams are stressing me out a lot, even though they're finally coming to an end, but I have remained in Muto's favor, and I have some sort of direction for my future now. But I keep using that stupid, meaningless phrase. This is strange. It really is amazing how fast one comes to accept being surrounded by people with sometimes incredibly jarring disabilities and conditions. So much so that I really wonder why I feel so much like a foreigner. It certainly isn't for lack of socialization and friends. I've come to know most of my classmates on first-name terms, and know for a few others around the school, whether they're missing an arm or a leg. The students here are just like anyone else of their age. I can navigate the halls that I once lost myself in with an ease I'd not expected to ever have, thanks to the school's logical layout and can engage my teachers in comfortable discussion. I swirl around gently the tea in my cup, the reflected image of my face becoming distorted by the moving liquid. This is strange. I used to hate drinking tea. I was more of a coffee man. Maybe I'm thinking too much. The familiar sound of china rattling from a teacup touching an accompanying saucer rings out. Is something the matter? Don't worry, it's nothing. I take a long sip of the tea in front of me, as the girls do. Just whiling away the time in Lily's room sipping tea with her and Hanako. It feels familiar, almost nostalgic. So, how's your work in the newspaper club going, Hanako? I want to know too. It sounds like it would be quite interesting. Hanako's face turns down at the attention placed upon her, though her smile belies the fact that she genuinely likes being the center of attention for the two of us. It's good. I think I'm getting better at it. Naomi and a couple of her friends handle most of the jobs, getting stories and stuff. I just do computer things like putting the stories together and getting it printed. It's nice, since I can sit and concentrate. I see Lily's low-tech nature isn't shared by Hanako. While sitting in a room compiling other people's newspaper articles into documents doesn't strike me as overly outgoing. It is heartening to see her widening her circle of friends. Baby steps, I guess. It's probably a bit much to be expecting her to become a socialite like Lily. How are you finding Naomi? I've heard she can be quite troublesome at times. And Lily going into her mothering mode over Hanako. Letting go of her is something she has had to learn. Hanako scratches her cheek, thinking of an answer. Naomi's nice. She's a bit loud sometimes and a bit tiring. But she's really helpful, and her friends are nice too. That's wonderful to hear, Hanako. I'm glad you found a source of such enjoyment. I thought that'd say entertainment. Lily's smile is warm and genuine, but I can sense a touch of wistfulness to it as well. Hanako seems to miss that entirely, but I don't think for a second that I'm imagining it. I suppose it's because I've slowly come to pay more and more attention to everything going on around me. With things seemingly happening faster and faster, it feels like I'll miss something if I'm not as observant as possible. With the exams, my newfound love life, trying to fit in some studying regarding my options for college and university, and my heart condition applying the brakes on everything at irritatingly random times, my brain's been in overdrive recently. It makes me appreciate the rare quiet times such as these. I guess this is why Lily came to appreciate her weekly walks to the convenience store and her tea parties with Hanako. Despite her like of being surrounded by others, they gave her a moment of peace in a chaotic and busy life. Thank God the exams are over, eh? The comment draws an earnest chuckle from both the girls. It seems like everybody's been a lot happier since the exams ended last week. So what are you doing for the summer holiday, Hanako? I quickly count the days in my head. Today is Monday, the school finishes on Saturday. 5 days to go after all. I was thinking of traveling just around a bit. There's a lot of places I want to see, and I think I have enough money to pay for the bus and train rides. Naomi and one of the other girls in the newspaper club said they might come along too. Her look indicates she's given the matter quite a lot of thought. I'm kind of surprised that she's contemplating something like this. It seems she's really become intent on striking out on her own. Is there anywhere in particular you're thinking of going? I was thinking that Kyoto sounds nice. I think I'll try to go to a few places, though. Lily nods in approval, happy with Hanako's plan. While I cast my eyes to Lily, I refrain from asking her the same question. She's been evasive with her plans for the future for a long time now, but I never seem to get a good time to broach the subject alone with her. Every time it comes up in conversation, it feels like she's either unsure of herself or simply dodging the question. It's troubling. Be sure to call sometime when you're out and about. I gave you my number before, right? Hanako gives a quick nod and a happy smile on her face. It's strange to see how happy people seem to become when they have a goal to work towards. Yuko seems to brighten whenever her university aspirations are brought up, and now Hanako is just the same. So why do I still feel this uncertainty, and why Lily too? Relationships really can be irritatingly troublesome sometimes. Oh, time is it? Oh. It takes me a second to remember that Lily's clock doesn't have any visual feedback. I really should know, given how many times I've been in her room. Nevertheless, I take my watch from my bag and quickly check it, the reason for her asking becoming clear. It's about 20 past 10, nearly curfew. Hanako rises to her feet, dusting herself off and neatening her gown after doing so. I'd better be going then. Good night, Lily. Hisao. Sleep well, Hanako. See you tomorrow. With that, she walks to the door and quietly makes her exit. Brr. Silence. It seems to be happening more and more between Lily and me recently. After a few seconds, I finally find something to talk about. Oh yeah, I talked to Muto on Friday and finally checked out some guides on college and how to apply for it. That's good news. If you're going to be applying for colleges, I assume you have some idea in mind of what you might be doing in the future? I think I've settled on becoming a science teacher. It's going to take a while to get through university and everything to be qualified, but I think it'll be worth it. Lily's face brightens considerably at the news. I suppose with her wish to become a teacher, she's delighted I'd take the same kind of path. So you've decided on a career of teaching? I think that path suits you most excellently, Hisao. I smile and nod. This time, even if I know she can't see me doing so, I know she feels it. I imagine Muto would have taken the news well. That's one word for it. Hey, Lily. Yes? I know you want to be a teacher, but for a second I wonder whether I should really ask her the question on my mind, but that's quickly brushed aside by the fact that this is rather late to have second thoughts. Surely you don't still think I'll be offended by something regarding my blindness? Her accusing tone is betrayed by her grinning face. Amused at my awkwardness and raising the topic, some things never change. Good point, I guess. I was just thinking whether or not being blind would be a hindrance, what with your ambition to become a teacher and all. She looks mildly surprised before giving the question some thought. I refuse to think she's never actually pondered this issue before. I wonder. Hisao, could you close your eyes for a moment? Okay. Raising an eyebrow, I do as she requests. I have no idea what she has in mind, and my questions only increase as I peek out from one eye. Taking the black ribbon she usually wears in her hair from the cabinet beside her bed, she advances towards me, while running it through her fingers to remove any stray hairs remaining on the piece of cloth. What's happening? I suddenly click on her intention as I feel the black strip make contact with my face, wrapping around my head and over my eyes. What exactly is this for? It's a little test, Hisao, since you seem to be wondering. I'll let you see things as I do for a time. Huh. So that's what this is about. To be honest, this actually sounds kind of fun. Childish and rather silly to anyone who would be watching, but a bit of silly fun never hurt anyone. I stand up with a heave, my hands quickly moving out in front of me to warn me of any obstacles. Oops. Okay, now what? Now touch me. If you say so. Now then. I slowly make my way forwards towards the sound of Lily's voice. My walking speed could barely even be called a shuffle, the entire experience feeling alien enough that I don't want to risk inadvertently tripping over anything, such as her table or her haphazard pile of books. Something soft yet solid brushes against my left leg. Further inspection reveals it to be Lily's bed. I move onwards, finding myself thankful that Lily's room is so neat and tidy. Even the pile of books she has are generally kept close to the wall, well out of harm's way. The hard wall pressing against my outstretched hand makes me furrow my brow in frustration. Hey Lily, where are you? What are you doing over there? I'm over here. Lily's voice comes from the other side of the room, far from where it was before. Even to my untrained ears, if she's going out of her way to avoid me reaching her, then is this just a game to her? Of course it is. Compared to a life where even the concept of sight is an abstract one, a few minutes in a blindfold are nothing. I guess she's made her point. She's more than capable of navigating her room, and further, I've seen how independent she is even when compared to many of the others in Yamaku. Well, even if this is just a game, I might as well play it wholeheartedly. With a pace much quicker than before, I moved towards the source of her voice, deftly sidestepping the table in the center of her room, thanks to remembering its position. "I've got you now." She gives an impish giggle, one just long enough to work out that she's passing just beside me. I quickly turn around to face a new direction. Shit, that table wasn't there before. Ow, 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 ow. I slowly sit up next to the table, raising my blindfold as I rub my aching head. I give an irritated kick to the table that's sitting just in front of where I fell. Utterly pointless, but the thing deserved it. Hisao. Lily's still standing just to my side, obviously unsure of what's befallen me. Sorry, I kind of fell over. Are you hurt? My head hurts, but I think I'm okay. I think the table moved in order to trip me over. She giggles as she walks over and takes a seat beside me, her hand resting on my own. I suppose that's the end of that, then. I think so. But I also think I get the point, though I do wish it hadn't involved such a headache. Lily suddenly looks blank. Point? And I return an extraordinarily flat look. That was just for fun? I just thought it might ease you up a little about the subject. You always seem to tiptoe around it, after all. In regard to teaching, sight isn't that important. There are plenty of classes taught by entirely blind teachers, and more than enough resources for me to learn the subject. It's as simple as that, really. I slump my shoulders and give a snort of amusement. Yeah, I understand. I guess we'll both just have to work hard to reach our goals, then. What is it? With little hesitation, Lily pushes forward her chin and closes her eyes in an unmistakable gesture. This again. I accept gladly, our lips touching as they do. I suddenly feel her hand snaking up my chest from underneath my shirt. Uh-oh. Maybe it's not this again. This is becoming a little too spicy. I should have stopped. The feeling of her hand against my bare skin is enough to make my heart suddenly accelerate. So she's in that kind of mood again. It sounds like she's in that kind of mood often. I think she's outdoing you in libido. Well, I'm hardly one to complain. She does genuinely like this, and even with all my medications, my libido is thankfully still intact. I lean in to kiss further, holding her hand tightly as I feel it tracing the contours of my chest. Quit touching my scar, you're making me feel weird. It's curfew. You need to go home. Go back to your dorm. You're gonna get in trouble. Eventually we break off from one another, the room silent but for our breathing. Hey, Hisao. Yeah? I don't suppose you could wear the blindfold again? No. You better not. Her tentative suggestion takes me by surprise. I suppose she wants to introduce me to sex through her eyes as well. Or just wants to find out what I'll be like during the act while hampered by the blindfold. You didn't answer. She doesn't know that you put it back on. With a measure of unease tempered by curiosity, I do as she says, lower the blindfold over my eyes. The world becomes dark once again. I reflexively tense as I feel Lily's hand gently brush the side of my face. I am entirely unable to anticipate her touch. I really need to get more used to contact like this. Even after the weeks we've been going out, it isn't as natural for me as it is for her. Silence? Hey, Lily. Shh. Just lay there and take it. I obediently follow her instructions and quietly listen, trying to make out anything that's happening around me. Compared to before when I was chasing Lily, the need to carefully navigate the room's obstacles is now gone. I can take my time and concentrate much harder on listening. It takes a while, but I can eventually pick out the soft sound of her breathing in the otherwise dead silent room. In, out, in, out. Measuring against my own breathing, I realize it's definitely deeper than normal, especially for her. Another sound makes its way to my ears, one that I can't identify immediately. I don't think I've heard it before, but my heart skips a beat as I realize the source, my hand almost reflexively reaching out towards it. Her face feels softer than usual under my touch, her head just barely turning in acknowledgement towards the fingers on her cheek. What? Hisao. I don't know what the sound is. I gulp and take a moment to try and calm down. I need all the concentration I can muster while I'm like this in order to fully take in my surroundings. After a few deep breaths, I think I've managed to collect myself with a touch so light that it wouldn't disturb a feather. I start to move my hand down her body. I don't know if I need to read this. I might, I don't know. I'll keep reading it, I guess. There's no bad picture. I keep saying bad, but it's not bad. It's just, it's weird. There's no picture at all, it's just darkness. And now I feel weird reading it, even weirder, because now I'm just straight up reading erotica. I can feel myself losing focus again, thanks to those thin, silken pajamas of hers resting so perfectly over the curves of her body. If she's like this, then that means she has to be sitting against her bed and facing me. Now to continue. Alright, this must be her hip. If I just move slowly downwards. Lily's breath catches as my hand comes over hers, tentatively following her fingers between her legs, losing them as they go underneath her underwear. Oh. I ain't reading that. I guess that's what that sound was. Okay. I don't want to read this anymore. They're saying the words. I don't like to say the words. I don't want to say them. They make me feel weird. My mind suddenly fills with visions of what she must be like in front of me right now. I'd never imagined her doing this before, and being unable to see her doing the act only enhances the mood. Uh-oh. You're cheating! You're not supposed to put up the blindfold. That defeats the purpose. You're cheating! I work the blindfold upwards, brushing out of my eyes a couple of hairs that were stuck into the ribbon before. For a period of time I can only guess at, my mind goes completely blank. On to me. Oh, there it is. Yup. There she is. She sure is doing that. He's just sitting there watching. Quit being weird. Oh. Don't say the scent of her sweat. Why are you trying to smell that? You're weird. Me either, Hisao. Hisao says I just have no idea what to say. Silence reigns while I simply watch her, hair hanging over her face as she sits exhausted. Yeah, I don't know what to say either, buddy. You just sat there and watched. You creep. Hisao. When she reaches out to brush my face, my urges take complete control of my body. Without so much as a second thought, I push myself over her frame. Oh, we're not done. Oh, silly me. What was I thinking? It's an unusual feeling, being like this. I feel oddly powerful, holding myself above her blank face, as though for the first time since the accident so long ago, I feel physically strong. I ain't reading that. To my surprise, she smiles weakly before reaching upwards to feel the side of my face. It's an almost cheeky expression, of the kind which she usually gives only after getting something out of me. You wanted me to do this? She holds her smile and gives a silent nod. I guess it was an effective way to make me take the initiative for once. And again, to my surprise, she gives the ribbon still around my neck a sharp tug downwards. Around my head. Why can't I read the word head and hand and neck? Once again, I'm lost in complete darkness. I told you to keep it on, didn't I? We'll get into that. That kinky shit. I knew she was a freak. 7 days a week. That teasing edge to Lily's voice, punctuated by her breathing. She never seems to lose her ability to take control of a situation. But this one time... he saw, what are you? Uh-oh. I slide my hands underneath her, soft silk and skin pressing into my hands as I gently raise her body with a measure of difficulty. Well, she's, like, tall, right? While I wouldn't describe her as heavy, her height makes her more than a handful to try and lift. It only takes a couple of carefully placed steps to feel the edge of her bed against my legs, my lowering of Lily onto her sheets just as gentle as when I raised her. Your bed will be more comfortable than the floor, right? Always the gentleman, aren't you? Nope. I'm not gonna read that. He just threw her undies across the floor. How's she gonna find them, huh? You're gonna have to find them for her. You freak. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. They'll be somewhere around. Yeah, as things always are. They are somewhere around. With a minimum of fuss, I shuffle down... Oh. Whoops. That's not something you want to see or hear. Oh no, you just palmed her face. This would be a lot easier if she wasn't moving her face into my hand, but the feeling of her nuzzling into it is nice. I swallow to try and steady myself, take my other hand from the bed and use it to guide myself. I was tricked. I thought that was going to be normal, but it wasn't. Well, I guess it's normal, but it wasn't. I thought it was going to be like PG. That was not PG. Not mewling. Not that word. That's the noise kittens make. Hisao, no, you can't say that. Oh, he's dead. Oh no. He's literally gonna fucking die. Is this an ending? Do I literally die during the sex? I'm always so scared it's gonna happen every single time. I don't know why. Every time he does the sex, he has like a heart attack, and I just think he's gonna die every single time. This feeling is just normal. That's not the sounds of ecstasy, that's the sounds of I need to be taken to the ER. This pain is too much. I stumble backwards from Lily with unseemly haste, clumsily hitting the back of my foot against the table and falling to the ground with an unceremonious crash. Breathing wildly, I frantically scrape the ribbon over my eyes as I lay on my back. I have to get this off. I have to get this off. Ceiling, mixed with heart problem effect. For a moment, everything goes blank as the rush of newfound light assaults my eyes. My breathing slows from the brink of hyperventilation. Oh, it's the crazy music. Seconds pass and I carefully measure out the rhythm of my heartbeats with every ounce of concentration I can muster. My heart is normal. It's back to normal. My body feels utterly bizarre as I lay dazed on the floor looking at the ceiling. Well, that's certainly a mood killer. The adrenaline from before is still pouring through my veins, but my mind is completely exhausted. I prop myself up as I hear Lily getting off the bed and coming towards me. Yo, you good? Hisao, are you okay? Hisao! I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. She gives a sigh of relief, her worried expression collapsing. Her face afterward is the very last I'd ever wanted to see from her. It's a face I detested when I first saw my parents in the hospital all those months ago. Pity. Lily pities me. Yeah, I mean, bro, I'm not sure if you're aware, but like, you guys were in the midst of the throes of passion, and you just yoinked out of her, and then collapsed on the floor and like, whatever. You did it. You're on the floor, and of course she pities you. What did you expect? I just close my eyes and turn away, powerless. I feel like throwing up. I can hear the sound of Lily moving away and quickly attending to herself, the ruffling of her clothing being pulled back on after a moment of searching just barely audible. Sorry. She slowly shakes her head as she finishes buttoning up her top. Her kind smile looks so fragile, so delicate, that it makes my heart sink. Approaching carefully, she feels out the edge of the low table before taking a seat next to me, putting her arms around my chest. I'm sorry, Hisao. I shouldn't have pushed my desires onto you. You don't need to apologize. I'd normally be fine. You've seen that much before. I guess I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. My eyelids feel heavy. Calmly sitting next to her like this is probably letting the adrenaline work itself out of my system and letting my mind relax. So, that's why you never took the lead? Yeah, I guess it's a good thing you like to, huh? The joke seems to lighten her expression a little, a fact which helps let me feel less unease about my unreliable self. Lily's head comes to rest on my shoulder, and as I struggle to keep my eyes open, with more difficulty after each blink, I feel completely drained. It's okay, Hisao. It's all okay. No sooner does she say that than a small, quiet tune escapes her lips. Entirely too tired to think, all I can do is listen to her soft humming. It's a soft, almost melancholic tune. It sounds familiar, but the more I try to remember its origin, the less I seem to be able to concentrate. The feeling and scent of her head gently resting on my shoulder and her warm body against my side are soothing. The soft humming of her voice, too, relaxes my mind as much as her warmth relaxes my muscles. A singular, quiet moment, after all this fracas. It makes me realize just how exhausted I've become. I can feel my eyelids slowly becoming heavier and heavier. Even with the chaos of before, I wish this moment would last forever. Lily and I together, sharing a single solitary occasion together, just as we used to. But if that's the case, why does she feel further away than she's ever felt before? Alright, well, we done almost had a heart attack in Lily's room, and I'm glad we didn't, because that would have been really awkward. So, yeah, it's a good thing we didn't die in her room, because there would have been a lot of splaining to do on everyone's part. Sorry, Pussy's so good, I fucked him to death. Don't know what to tell you. I shouldn't have to apologize. He should apologize for being weak. I don't know what we're gonna do from here. Apparently we feel far away from Lily because she pities us, and that makes us feel small and emasculated. And, we will find out what we're gonna do about that in the next video.